Hello, everyone. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
It's a pleasant day today. And to everyone, thank you for joining today's live webinar. As usual, me and Anna co-hosting this live webinar. And today we're going to be talking about the future of work. Are neuro-inclusive business ready? So how are you today, Anna?
I'm good, although it's raining again.
Yeah.
Every single day. I think someone said around here it's rained every single day. It's a new
Yeah.
record or something. That's not a good record.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm going away to Bangladesh. It's hot over there now.
Yeah,
It's
I might sneak in your suitcase, I think.
yeah, like Mr. Vin. And yeah, when we talk about businesses readiness for neuro inclusivity, I think some people they have a stereo type thinking, like, okay, it's what is about neuro inclusivity, because you are in inclusive business. I run neuro inclusive business. We are both neurodivergent. We understand how a neurodivergent person can react, but what are the key benefits to become a neuro-inclusive business in 2026?
Do you know what? It's funny because as soon as I was thinking about this title. Um, I feel that you see a lot around sort of people going on about EDI and things like that, and making it sound like we're pulling businesses backwards, because people suggest that we're not hiring the best person for the job. But what actually, when you look at a lot of the stats around neuro-inclusive businesses, I think I've mentioned before my favorite book, Rebel Ideas by Matthew Syed. He talks about how businesses that have diverse thinking tend to be more innovative. They actually, from a point of view of figures, they tend to earn more.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm actually thinking about the future of business, think about the changes that we've been through recently. There's been, AI adoption, sort of just changes in the workforce, people working from home, different dynamics. Actually, being neuro-inclusive means that we can actually get to those really diverse thinking businesses, instead of this homogeneity where everyone thinks the same because we're hiring people that think like us.
Mm-hmm.
If we hire people that think differently, every time that I work with teams that think differently, they've spotted things that I haven't seen. They've said, oh, did you know about this? Or I know about this. It's that diverse thought that makes businesses much more innovative. So when I'm thinking about the future, I'm thinking actually, I think new inclusive businesses are the future. Those are going to be the ones that spot the things coming, get on those trends really quickly. Yeah, and I'm not saying that this isn't about saying that every neurodiverse person is a future spotter. We all have, it's about the fact that we have I think in Rebel Ideas, he calls it a different frame of reference. So when we're looking at the world, we look at it from a different frame of reference, and it's not just about new inclusivity. It's about people from different backgrounds as well. I look at it from I am a cis white woman. I have fibromyalgia, I have ADHD, I came from a working class council estate background, but now I'm middle class. That is my frame of reference of the world. It's different from a lot of people's. It's different from yours, Dr. Shah. And actually this helps you just spot and understand everything.
I totally agree with you, because we in neurodivergent person as well. There are lots of varieties and lots of things going on at the same time. Some people they are doubly neurodivergent, like, okay, they will maybe have ADHD, they will have autism, or maybe they will have some other things, or including disabilities. So when you combine all those things together, it's quite fascinating that things, or the way a business can grow. I'm talking about the positive things, but there are some also negative impact on business as well, because every person is different. So if someone is a neurodivergent and they have mental health issues, how do you characterize those things together? Because I'm a neurodivergent. If I don't and I work full time, I also have some issues with my mental health, but I can get manage those things. But people, they have like, okay, neurodivergent or a couple of other domains, disabilities, mental health together. Will the business will suffer for that?
I think, and I think this is the problem. With business, there's this very sort of linear way that we look at business. Is presenteeism? Are you at your desk? Are you working 8 hours? Are you productive for those 8 hours? But the one thing, since I learned that I had ADHD and was diagnosed, but I had known for a while, is that actually it's the results that come out which are really important, rather than all of this sort of stuff that doesn't really matter. I think it's Alex Partridge who does the ADHD Chatter podcast. He was saying, my process is very different to your process. Don't judge me by my process, judge me by my outcome. And when someone would to say, step into my shoes, they might go, oh my God, this is chaotic. I do things back to front, I do the wrong way around, but I get the results that I need. And I think with people with mental health, that may struggle with poor mental health, it is a struggle. But there are things you can do to make sure that that person contributes to the business in their own way. We don't have to contribute. I think we need to get out of this linear mindset that we're contributing all the same. We're not always contributing the same. We're contributing, I'll take a really classic example, Stephen Hawking. He contributed in the way that he could contribute. He did talks when he could, but then when he couldn't talk anymore, he did books, and he did, and he shared his ideas. Would we say, oh, it's not worth, hiring Stephen Hawking because he could not contribute all of the time in the way that we expect him to? Or would we say, actually, the times that he contributed was so valuable and so brilliant that actually it was worth supporting him through that and getting what we could get the most out of that person and their potential possible? And I know loads of people that they suffer with mental health difficulties. I have in the past. Yet their brains are amazing, and they think differently. And actually, when for example, when people have had poor mental health, they understand what it's like to have poor mental health. So then they can understand maybe a different portion of the audience that, people that have always been fine didn't understand. So they can say, actually, I really understand these people. This isn't how they might shop with us because they might be feeling this way or that way. For example, if you've got an app around mental health, and none of the team have had mental health difficulties over time, you're probably not going to build the best app. So use people for their strengths where they really can contribute, rather than like, do they fit a box, I think.
I totally agree with you what you just said, because mostly when people think about, okay, a neurodivergent person, a neurodivergent person means they will have mental health problems, because people still think about this is a disorder, mental health disorder, and recruiting a person or working with a person sometimes is challenging. We understand that yes, you're going to be working with a different person. They have different niche, or they have different type of work capacity or even delivery. So if you understand how they deliver, and if you wanted to transform your workplace based on the delivery you require, you just said, like, okay, you think about delivery, you don't think about how they work. Yeah. So if a result or outcome could be different for different person, but a neurodivergent person, if you wanted to get an outcome, you just ask them, like, okay, I want this outcome from you. I don't mind the way you work. I think that way, those person will work more independently and bring that outcome, because as I'm neurodivergent person, I work with neurodivergent people. They are very much in center what they do. And when they work, they don't think about anything else. They just think about success. They're okay, I have to do it, and I have to do it properly.
Yeah. And do you know, it's really interesting when you were saying that. Do you know what I was thinking? Because you were saying about sort of making accommodations. I've worked with a lot of neurotypical, able-bodied people without mental health that have been absolutely awful to work with. like they have been aggressive, they have been bullies, they have been awkward, they have been terrible at their job. But it's really weird how I've noticed that those people seem to get the slack. Oh, it's just how they are. We'll just work around them. And actually, it's really interesting because I've not even thought about this before, because some people are so awful to work with that the entire departments move around them. Yet for some reason, when neurodiversity or disability is mentioned, and I've actually had this happen to me, it's like, oh, well, that was your, you're now part-time, so we're going to book something that is your domain on your day off because, you've shown a weakness. So but what we're going to do is work around all the awkward people that aren't disabled, because we like to work around awkward neurotypical people. I feel like this very double mindset about it, because I have worked in departments and we have had awful people and we have literally rearranged the entire department around them. And I'm like, well, actually, hang on. If we can arrange an entire department around someone who's just rubbish at their job or an awful person, why could we not rearrange it around someone that is a good worker but needs a little bit of support? And that's actually, now I'm thinking about it, it's making me really annoyed.
That's the thing. But I have, there are challenges around neurodivergent people. We understand that, we know that, and we last few years we've been talking about this all the time. But there are some progress, and there are some critical things they can do the way that some neurotypical people they cannot do. Yeah. So if you consider, like, okay, you have a workplace and you will have some neurotypical people, neurodivergent people, some disabled people, it shouldn't be like tick boxes, because with government legislation and everything, because I think we will talk about that in next segment. Like, when there is a government legislation, it's just like tick boxes, like, okay, you have a disabled person or neurodivergent person or some people with disability, that your box ticked. So you don't need to think about everyone else. But as a neurodivergent person myself, I think that I don't want to be ticked that boxes. Like, you recruited me for my talent. You're not recruiting me for tick those boxes that, okay, you are doing that. How do we change these perceptions for any companies?
Yeah, and I think it's a big societal change, to be honest with you, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff recently. I don't know if you saw the Merlin Ride Access Pass, where they stopped neurodivergent people from being able to access the Ride Access Pass. If anyone doesn't know, this was a pass that it got you into a shorter queue than the main queue if you fitted certain criteria. One of them was not being able to queue. And you didn't skip the queue as such. You went on the ride, and then you were timed out of going on rebooking a ride access pass for 50 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on how long the queue was. So it meant that if you were unable to stand in a queue, you could do something else, like go and hook a duck or something. And actually, it's really interesting seeing a lot of the negative comments around neurodivergence and disabilities. Neurodivergence isn't a disability. I've heard quite a lot. Oh, they just need to be told what to do. You wouldn't tell someone in a wheelchair, oh, just stand up, you're just being lazy. Well, actually, no, I actually have seen some of that in the past. So some people will do that. But, for some reason, people don't understand like how disabling the neurodivergence can be, to the point I think I've mentioned previously. My son is autistic. He has DLA. He finds it much more disabling in his day-to-day life than I do. I can tend to function fairly well with ADHD and fibromyalgia, but he finds it more disabling. And it was really interesting looking at this and the attitudes that people still have to that might need some help.
I think
and a lot the really interesting and this is have to disable people that you know, if you're neurodivergent or you know, you've got mental health issues or
I think we are getting some technical issues here. Anna, your feed is continually jumping. Can you hear me well? I think the internet is dropping. I'm not sure if it is from my end or your end. Can you hear me well? So we're going to be trying to fix the internet issues. We just talking about the. Yes, I can, but I think the line is dropping. It's dropped a few times while you were talking. So it seems to okay now. So let's start the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just around that sort of perception, I think, that people that need help, we're not doing it for fun. We're not doing it to get special benefits. We're doing it so that we can participate equally, not above other people, equally in work and society. You know, it's around the fact that it's not that, you know, neurotypical or able bodies here and disabled people want to be here. What we want to do is to be able to participate equally. So sometimes accommodations are needed. You know, for example, I read this thing the other day that it costs about £1,000 a month extra on average for a disabled person to basically exist in the world. You don't get that through PIP or DLA. So they're still, even with you know, PIP or DLA, they're still in a negative compared to someone who isn't, who is able-bodied and neurotypical. You know, for example, with my son, he struggles with things like, you know, if we go to London, he can't cope with the noise of tubes, so I have to pay for a taxi. It's very expensive to go around London on a taxi, so we only tend to go a couple of places. When my son went on a school trip, he can't stay overnight with other people. It's just too overwhelming to stay in with other children. So I have to pay for a hotel, have to take the day off work, I have to pay for travel, you know, all of this stuff that, you know, a neurotypical child wouldn't have to do. And he was the only one in his school that did it. And so, you know, for me, that's costing a lot of money and I don't mind paying it. He's my son, I love him. But it's expensive, you know, if you've got mobility issues, you know, buying things to take things off jars or getting support. You know, my dad has carers in 4 times a day. Expensive, you know, being disabled is an expensive job. There's mobility devices, helping hands, cleaners, you know, it's really, really expensive just to have the same level of life that, you know, able-bodied neurotypical people have. Nothing special, you know, it's just having that same level. So I think there needs a huge societal attitude change, I think, to the fact that actually people just want to get on and help and contribute, and they just need a little bit of help to do that, really.
I totally agree with you. Another thing that I encounter some of the times, like people, neurotypical people, even people, they have disabilities, they come up with something like, okay, why those people in neurodivergent or disabled people, some of them are getting extra benefit rather than not having benefit at all, those things. And I think in that scenario, we discussed about that on our last episodes, that there are some disabled people, they don't fit for any of the disabilities, but they are still disabled. So the government and the legislation or the governing body, they are not like up to the mark to aid disabled people. They do not fall in the normal category or in a disability category. So there is a catch-22 situation in that aspects. Another thing I specifically observed, and I'm learning as well as experiencing, my son with his neurodiversity, he is very good at some of the things, and sometimes he's not. So going to a normal school is being quite a difficult thing for him, but still he's getting like detention every week, couple of times. He sometimes he talk too much, sometimes he doesn't talk at all. So these are the things I think it's worrying me, and I think well, we have someone in the or message in the audience. I just wanted to add her message first. Is Anita McDonald's. She said, in schools we do for this for children, but not for the adults who look after them. I think this is a critical barrier. What do you think?
Yeah, I think about my son. He's got an EHCP, although to be honest, sometimes I think it's not worth the paper it's written on. But we do it in schools. We do try and accommodate. For him, he's at the moment doing 2 half days a week, and he has a 1-to-1 at school, and he gets extra support. At the moment, he's half his time doing his classes out in the corridor because mainstream's too overwhelming for him. But they won't give him a SEND school, so we make the best we do. But even still, I would say they do make the accommodations. But you feel like people are. You get the little comments. Oh, well, why doesn't he do homework? All the other kids do homework. Well, because there's still these little, these societal ingrained things, particularly with the adults, that I think this is why EHCPs are so important. I am concerned about them trying to take away, because an EHCP basically tells them you've got to do something, because without them, sometimes schools won't support because it costs money and time and energy. And I do wonder if that attitude sort of fulfills back into work as well. Oh, it's money making. We've, this is a business. We can't have anything that might cost them money, even though it might make us money in the long run, because as I said earlier, the most innovative businesses and the ones that earn the most are, all the stats say, are the most inclusive and divergent businesses in terms of brain, sort of backgrounds and brain sort of power. So I think it's very much a money now rather than money later. But in schools, could we have some sort of I'm sure there is. Isn't there something that you can have? It's like
but when you talk to them, is sometimes they will say first thing that we don't have funding. Okay. And to implement it specifically, tailored methodology to someone, they do not fall in, the worst one or something like that. It's difficult because they will only have funding for those people they are very much in suffering more. But those people, like they didn't, like my son, he either not fall into critical category and neither in normal category. So he's in between, hanging up with the systematic thing, and the staff and all those people, they don't know how to behave. Like Anita, that's she said that it's not there, and there isn't any private organization or government organization they can specifically look into this, because people will not fund this kind of activities. But I think it has to tailored to that level, because otherwise, these people, they are in the school, they will not the most of the school. So my son, sometimes he said, okay, I don't want to go to school because no people, his classmates or teacher, they don't understand me, and what can I do? And sometimes I ask some questions. They think that is very silly, but that's not silly to me. I think I have to ask that question. So what will you do in that scenario? Because these people, they will go to the workplace. So if, in few years' time, so if they will not have a good experience through their school levels, how can they make significant contribution to the later stage, because Shomoy, he's very much good at mathematics. So if you ask him anything, he will do either way. But if you ask him something else, he will shy away. He will not do it. How do you manage that?
Yeah, do you know, it's really interesting. It just reminded me that I'm a member of the CBI, and one of the meetings we did recently, one of the works that they've been doing is around young people's mental health in the workplace. And my comment on that was, why are we dealing with mental health in the workplace? Why are we not dealing with what causes that mental health before they get to the workplace? Because it feels like, shutting the door after the horse has bolted type of saying. Because my son, he in lower school, he did not have any mental health issues, and yet in he's in junior school at the moment, and he's starting to show signs of like OCD and quite extreme anxiety. And I know that they're not from home, because he's very happy at home. We have a lovely home life. He's very relaxed. They are all from school, because at night he sits up at school and says, "Mummy, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Oh, I'm really stressed. Oh, I find it really, it's so much pressure. I can't." And he, it's all from school. And he started showing like OCD symptoms, and I, it's really concerning. And I'm like, well, that's the child that you're going to be talking about. Oh, let's try and help with the mental health in the workplace. I'm like, no, the problem is now. This is where his mental health is being, it's been affected poorly, and by being an environment that is not suitable for him. And actually, what you're doing is just creating your own problem, for the future, and then trying to solve the problem when actually why are you spending money solving it there? Solve it now. Put the money in now. Because it's the thing, you see that like schools can be very rigid. They're not set up, like you said, there's no training. When I talk to people about PDA, demand avoidance, about autism, about different things, because I read everything. I read all up about it. I'm saying, oh, have you tried this? Have you listened to this person? Have you done that? Some of them, to be fair, some of them haven't even read his HCP. They don't understand what neurodivergence is. So how can you look after someone when you don't understand what neurodivergence is, and not just a blanket neurodivergence, because that's what they say, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, because everyone is different. It's getting to know their individual needs. My son's EHCP, he is a clever boy, but his is around emotional regulation and sensory problems, because he really struggles with any noise, touch, feel, loads of stuff. It's not about education. So his one is around helping him cope in a school environment, but there's no knowledge of techniques at any of these schools. They don't know how to look after these children. They don't know. I've read things on, oh, don't say this, say this, approach it this way, not this. I've spent my life reading up. So at home, he's used to someone that can actually cater for his needs. And, I am aware that the world is not always set up for neurodivergent people, and it's not going to change overnight. So I try to build him with some resilience, because it's not be always like it is at home. But at a school environment where they're trying to grow and nurture, it's not just their educational side, it's their sort of emotional well-being, and that goes into work as well. If you've got happy workers are good workers. They're productive. And there are so many stats out there that back this up. Happy workers, they're the most productive. They do really well. And then your business flies. So this isn't just a nice to have. This is an economic imperative, I think.
I totally agree with you. So we have a question from Urmi. Do you think most companies are truly ready for neurodivergent talent? And I think we are achieving that goals gradually. Is more awareness nowadays. Urmi, to your answer, in the UK. As I'm from Bangladesh, I brought up there, half of my life there and half of my life in the UK. I understood the way the culture works. And if you go over there now, still the society, they don't think about neurodiversity. They don't know, they don't have any clue anyway. So they will mark it as a mental health problem. So you are mad. That's the thing. If someone knows that you're autistic or you are dyslexic or all those domains. In the UK, I would say we have come across a few decades of work, and we are now ready. But in relation with businesses, I would say we are not out there yet, but we will overcome these barriers in next 5 to 10 years. I'm certain, because the way every neurodivergent brain working now, creating their own businesses, and as well as working and shifting the culture of the multinational companies, I think we will get there to achieve our goals and success.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to think, was it about 50, 60 years ago that if you were autistic or, ADHD, they may put you in like a mental institution or, separate you. So it's not been that long since, like you said, even here, that we treated as a mental disorder, that you were sort of shuffled away from society. And as you said, Dr. Shah, now it's more open, we're understanding it. As my examples earlier, not everyone's understanding, but I watch a lot of physically disabled creators, and they still get lots of hate, and we know what physical disability is. People just like to hate. So we are definitely getting there. There is support. I do worry that we might start going backwards. You see it a bit in the US, that a lot of their sort of progress is going backwards. I'm really conscious that we don't want to start going backwards. There's this new sort of things around EHCPs and that at school, which might reduce the help that people get. But what we do to do is keep moving forward, because if anyone knows anything about business, what you want to do is you want to hire the best person for the role. And for many, many years, we have not been hiring the best person for the role. We've been best person who hits a box, that is like, you hear it, culture, culture within a business. They fit the culture. It's just a homogenous hiring, basically. Oh, they fit the culture. They're basically the same as us. They'll say yes to everything. I suffer with it with me and my wonderful business partner, Anne-Marie. We're the same person. We are identical. We think the same. I love her to bits. She's amazing. But every time we come up with something, we come up with the same idea and we say yes to it, because we are the same. We were friends before we were business partners, and that because we are the same and we get on really well. And it's so blissful. It's lovely. We never argue. It's wonderful. And that's how people hire, because they hire, it's ease, and they go, oh, well, they're like me. They must be good. And what we're doing now is saying that actually homogenous might not be the best person for the job. Actually going out of your comfort zone and hiring someone that may be different from you. And that's not necessarily neurodivergent or disabled, but it might be someone from a background. In Matthew Syed's Rebel Ideas, he talks about just even that you can have two economists, and there's a couple of different ways of studying economy. And you can have that person that studied that style of economy and that person that studied that one, and they think really differently. But one business might hire everyone that's just studied this style of economy. And actually they did some tests, and what happened is when they merged both types of economy, like people that studied both, the results were actually more accurate. So it's around thinking about who is the best person for the job that isn't exactly like me. That doesn't make someone the best person for the job. It's not so much now, but we used to have, I'm going to go to the boys club. I used to work in jobs for the boys, they used to say. And, you'd go to a board and everyone looked exactly the same. Now, can you tell me that everyone that looked exactly the same, were they all the best person for the job?
I totally don't, I totally agree that what you said. But due to my new diversity and working with varieties of people, I think you need diversions, a different type of mentality within your team, because as you said that you and your partner think alike, but you need to find out those people as well, they don't think like you. Then you can fulfill the gaps you have specifically. If you don't do that, like I think most neurodivergent people, they struggle. Like, okay, I wanted to hire someone, they just exactly think of like me, but that will not fuel your business differently, because when you are recruiting a neurodivergent person or neurotypical person for anyone, you need to think about a combination of team, versatile team. Like, okay, someone is good at mathematics, someone is good at finance, someone good at social media, someone good at different type of things, storytelling. All those things will make the team more stronger, rather than having everyone they are very good storytelling teller. So if you're a good storyteller, everyone in your team, but who's going to do the finance? How they can plan for a better future? I think that's the way neurodivergent people should think about it. I have my business partner, Ross. I don't understand finance that much. Okay, that is my gaps. But the way he manages that, I think I need him to do that, because otherwise I cannot grow. Or even I will have neurodivergent people in my team. They are very good at different things that I cannot do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way it will benefit to the company, and that's the way I think everyone should think about it. Otherwise, it's going to be a muddle thing when you have lookalike brain, lookalike everything, and you are very happy, but you will not get the desired outcome you're looking for.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I've got a new VA, and she thinks very differently to me and Anne Marie, because we were like, I nearly hired a new VA that was basically us. And I was like, actually, no, we can do the strategic side. This is what we're really good at. Why are we hiring for this? And actually, we then consciously picked someone that was different from us, thought very differently. She's much more processy. She's very good hands-on. She does a lot of the social media side of it. We're good at the ideasy stuff. And we were like, we need someone that actually does the doing, because me and Anne-Marie can be amazing at like the strategic stuff, the ideas and everything, but we're not so good at the doing. Typical ADHD brains, you know. So well, I say typical, for us it is, for us it is, but you know, some people at ADHD are much better at the doing than I am. But you know, we needed someone that did a different, like you said, a different skill set, because otherwise what we end up doing is just not getting anywhere. You know, we have the most amazing ideas and then they never come to fruition. So things like with her, you know, the new VA, we're things that are moving quicker, and we did that specifically hired for the like a gap analysis skill set, you know. And I think actually exactly what you said, you've got to do a bit of a analysis, like where have we got gaps? Where do we need people? Do we need a big picture thinker? We've got lots of analysts, because the one thing that I've noticed, I work with a lot of engineering and scientific companies, and engineering companies will hire more engineers and more engineers that kind of all think the same, or the scientists will hire more scientists. And actually they've got no creative or big picture thinkers. So they struggle on their marketing, with their vision of where the company wants to go, a little bit even with operations and people management as well, because what they've done is hired people that they're comfortable with, and they know that they're going to think the same. And it is, I don't blame people in some ways, because it's really nice to have people around you that are like you. It's very comforting. Yeah. You know, I am friends with a lot of neurodivergent people because, you know, they are more like me and I find them more comfortable. It's funny, my son at the school mentioned that his main friends are all the neurodivergent people at school. You know, we do gather into sort of communities or tribes that make us feel comfortable, but at work we should be pushing ourselves out of those comfort zones a bit. I think, you know, it is harder to manage a team that all thinks differently. You know, I love just standing up in a meeting brainstorming, but you know, I know that I work with autistic colleagues that do not like a brainstorm. They'll listen to the brainstorm and then they want a few days to think about it and then feed back to me. You know, same with introverted people that might not want to join in, but they might have something really valuable to say. So, you know, in the past, I've set up Teams channels, Slack channels, where they can just, when they're ready, message me their idea, and then they haven't been excluded. And I think, you know, it's that trying to work ways of managing, you know, that the differences between people, so that I think we just need to throw work out the window. It's always the same. The meetings are set. There's no format. Everything's rigid. Let's, how can we make it more, more inclusive for everyone?
I totally get what you just said, and I think it the cultural change or shift towards more inclusive workplace is based on the founder or the people they are leading the company, and they need either way. They could be neurodivergent or neurotypical, but both of them needs continuous training, because even if you're a neurodivergent person, you don't have training for neurodivergent, so you will not understand other categories, because you are in a box, and then you are meant to understand your category. But every neurodivergent person is different. So if I met someone else, a same autistic tendency, they will be different. Yes, there are some commonalities in between both characters, but some of the things will be different. So if you don't train yourself as a founder or director or or C-level executives of a company, you need training to understand everyone: disabled people, neurotypical people, neurodivergent people. Otherwise, you can have a versatile team. So we have a question here. Salaudin, thank you very much for sending this question. Should performance evaluation look different for different thinker? I think, as I said earlier, you need training first, and then you will understand, like, who, if you're analyzing performance, you will have analyzing the KPI of individual person. So a person with a different characteristics, the KPI will be different, because they work in various categories, aligning that. So when you analyzing someone with understanding performance, different set of skill set will aid them differently. But you cannot have blanketly same structure for analyzing different characteristics. That will not work. But another thing with KPI and other metrics is about how much you are completing, and what outcome you are bringing. Those are the things. Those are the common things that you have to do, and I think it's different. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I'm a big believer in sort of it being a partnership at work, between sort of managers and their teams. And, not just setting KPIs for people, but actually bringing them into the discussion, because that way you can get their input on how they like to work, what they want to do. Because some of this is around, performance is around individuals, and where, and their, like you said, their strengths and their skill sets. And also, going back to that sort of, different types of people, some people, and it's not just, I don't think it's just performance evaluations. It's things like interviews. We've talked about interviews in the past, haven't we, Dr. Shah? About the fact that, when I've had performance reviews before, and you sit in a room with someone and they've got this board up, and you're trying to, did you tick this box and did you tick that box? And actually, some people really struggle with that formal environment, when actually you could easily do that going for a walk to the local coffee shop. There's different ways you can do it. You could do it digitally. If someone really struggles to interact, you could do it, on a Teams call, or you could just do it in a Q&A box of ticking. If someone doesn't, really struggles with that, why does it have to be the same? You can record it the company way, if that makes any sense. So if you've got a system to record it on, but does the input have to be gathered in the same way each time? And I think people just need to be involved more, because, the one thing that I find really weird about some workplaces is that this sort of seniority levels, as if we're not all adults. We are all adults. And, if I met you on this, someone on the street, I would, there wouldn't be this weird hierarchy. And I'm not disagreeing that there needs to be a little bit of hierarchy, but you need to talk like adults, not like a school child to a school teacher. I find that very bizarre in workplaces where, where where someone has to be revered and then everyone else has to do it, because that doesn't help understanding the sort of differences between people. So, I feel like it's making sure that everyone talks like adults and is involved in the conversation, because that's how you get people's opinions as well. And you might find out that your KPI system and that doesn't actually work very well for everyone, and you're not capturing the best information, so you might even get some benefit out of it as well.
I totally agree with you. But when you are running a workplace, SMEs from 10 to 15 or 20 or 50 plus or 200 employees on there, it's difficult to do a guesswork. So most of the companies that I have seen, that they have implemented ERP solutions or CRM solutions, and they have like standardized KPI matrices for people to understand their work. And I think if you do KPIs to grow your business as well as understand individual skill sets, I think you need to, as you said, you need to talk to individuals. Like, okay, if someone, neurodivergent person you recruited for marketing, they will not be very good at social media. Okay, they might do something else on marketing, because marketing is a huge domain. So if you prioritize or characterize individual characteristics, like, okay, he's very good at Google Analytics, or he's very good at analyzing data, is a marketing biceps. So you analyze them with their work, not like same blanket for everyone. Look, okay, what they are gaining and what they are producing. I think that way you can solve a lot of problems. And as we discussed, that heavy mind is more than you require to succeed in workplace. It doesn't matter if it's neuro-inclusive, disability inclusive, or anything else. You need to have a sound mind within your company to execute the right practice. Otherwise, you cannot do that.
Yeah, do you know, it's really interesting you're saying that. I was thinking back to that, what I was saying about, was it Alex Partridge, the ADHD chatter guy, and about the process, and don't judge me on my process, judge me on my outcomes. And actually thinking about it, one thing that I've noticed for some people's KPIs, and that is around process and actually rather than outcomes. And now in business, it's really important for us to measure outcomes. That's the important thing. If someone comes in late every day but is your best performer, does the process matter? That's the question. If they are the best performer in your entire team, even though they come in 20 minutes late every day, that's that they've got a different process, but actually they've achieved more. So the outcome, outcomes are the most important thing for business. It's rubbish having, what I see people saying is, right, everyone must be in on time, everyone must do this, everyone must do that, everyone must do that. And actually they're judged on this set of tasks rather than actually what the contribution and to the company is. And this is where I see the problem fall down, because these don't matter if they're not generating revenue. That's what a company's for. You need things to generate revenue. And if this person does something slightly different but generates loads of revenue, that's okay. It's okay to be outside the norm. And I've seen a few companies where they've gone, oh, but it might give a bad, get everyone else doing that. And I'm thinking, well, they probably do want to do that if they're earning much more than everyone else. It's about allowing people, setting them the goals that they need to get to, and almost, within reason, letting them do it their own way with their own specialisms. For example, if I was doing sales, I would probably do it someone who's maybe traditionally trained sales. And I have done sales before, but I'm much more of a connector, a networker. I cannot cold call to save my life. I hate it. I'm not saying that I don't pick up the phone, but I do it differently. I get results. But if I was judged on how many phone calls I made a day, it'd be about 4, because that's not how I work. I will get you the sales in my way, and it will be a good way, and it will be the way that suits my personality. Don't make me do 50 sales calls a day, because that won't get the results, that you want, so making sure you're hiring, people. And if you want someone to do 50 sales call a day, don't hire someone that can't do it, make sure that personality fits. But actually, I think this is a bit about thinking differently. Is there better ways and different ways of getting to our goals? doesn't always have to be the same way,
I totally
potentially.
agree with you what you're saying here, because you know, yeah, there has to be a process, but the process can be aligned with the person as well, because every person will do work differently. So we have implemented process for all our employees, and they have to follow individual process. But you know, when you posting a social media post, you have to follow a process, like, okay, what are your target audience? You need to understand that. But within that process, your team contribution could be different. Like, okay, someone is understanding your audience, someone is creating the content, someone editing the content. So different team personalities combining together to create a masterpiece. So that process will align with your employee, that process will align with your clients as well, because if you don't have a process and as well as outcome from that process, you will not get success in the long run. So thank you, Anna. We're going to be leaving today a little bit earlier due to my clashes with my next meeting. So hopefully everyone, we will talk to you next month with another episode of ND Business Club's Live with me and Anna Mary. Please visit our YouTube channels as well as all our activities. We have 2 years of recording now available on our YouTube channels. So support our channels, and as well as if you wanted to ask us any question related to this, you can access and you can get hold of Anna through social media, as well as me as well. So Anna, thank you. And
Thank
you
you.
have to say anything to the audience?
No, just like Dr. Shah said, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So, I'm the only Anna Bravington. So if you have any questions, please do ask, because I love talking about this and love supporting people that are neurodivergent, but also anyone that's trying to support neurodivergent people as well. And I hope that the weather cheers up soon as well.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because we both do consultancy for neurodivergent person or neurodivergent businesses. So if you think that you need some set of different talent within your team, you can talk to us about that. We work with neurotypical people, neurodivergent people, disabled people. We understand the specs very well, so we can guide you through even if you wanted to implement different characteristics within your team. So thank you, everyone, and see you next month, and bye-bye.
Bye.